Welcome back to this week's episode of Inside Us, number 23. And I'm joined in the studio today by Mr. Charles Ozuna.
Y'all like that? 23?
Yeah.
Like the first one in 23.
Of 23.
And I'm a big MJ fan, so that works out.
Yeah.
Hold it.
Yeah. Leave it up there. Let it hang.
Even though I still say Kobe, I'm a Jordan fan for life, but I'm
Yeah.
always like, Kobe.
Yeah. I only say Kobe now when I miss.
So, man, I don't know. I didn't think.
All right.
More like LeBron.
Well, I don't have a far back enough hairline for that. I don't even watch basketball, but I know about his hairline and the fact that he's been on that Malcolm X book for like fucking years.
Dude, so many
like
people.
the same bookmark.
Yup.
Yeah, the same slot. So, Charles, thanks for coming out, man. I really appreciate it. So, for those of you that don't know, he's a comedian. Where did you start comedy?
So officially New York. So I'm originally from New York, New Jersey. So where all of them are kind of from. But no, I started out, so I was watching sitcoms growing up. Like my favorite comedian was Martin Lawrence.
Hell yeah.
I had You So Crazy memorized at the age of 10. And so I was reciting jokes that were way beyond, like I didn't know. I was doing sex jokes and I had no idea what he was talking about. Like I didn't get the Dahmer joke until I got older.
Yep.
And so, you know, I did theater in school, but in college, I was hosting step shows. So they're like, they need a host. And I was like, oh, that's cake. I like being on stage, but I knew how to already work with crowds. Like it just came natural to me. And I was like, someone's like, dude, you got something here. And I was like, oh, snap, I do. So hosting that, you know, you're doing basically 3 minutes here. After another 3 minutes, get the crowd hyped and going. And then after college, went back home and I was like, you know what, let's give it a shot. And then I just started doing open mics in New York.
Okay.
And not for nothing, they were like, yo, if you can survive out there and you can get booed and come back, you're good.
Yeah, because I would imagine it's a lot more real of a boo. It's like with fuck yous.
It's twofold. You're either gonna get booed like there's no tomorrow, or you're gonna get dead silence. And I don't know how to explain it, but New York silence is different than any other because all those rooms aren't dark.
Yeah.
So like some of them are lit, and you can see the faces of silence. Like I just wasted drink money on this dude. Like
what year? What year was it that you started?
Okay. So
not the open mics, but like the
in college,
the hosting. Yeah.
We're talking circa 2000, 2004.
Nice.
Yeah.
How old are you? You look young as
so
fuck.
hey, no, I'm 39, dude.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I just take care of myself.
I'm 10
milk,
years
water,
younger
and
than
lotion.
you.
I know you were telling me I'm about to be 30. I'm like, I'm about to be 40. So, yeah, man.
So you kind of, it's real interesting. You were able to kind of put your personality into your stage performance.
Oh yeah.
Before, because like I feel like that's what a lot of people do. Like that's what I'm still trying to figure out. Is like, who am I on stage? I don't want to be someone that's like up there and I come off and I'm not. I'm a different human being. Right.
Yeah.
So you like conversely, you did it backwards, where it's like I brought my personality to the stage and then I just started writing jokes.
Yeah.
To kind of.
And part of it was like when you host, it's like you grab something. My whole thing was I wasn't a roaster, you know, unless you did something. So
Sure.
I'm like, you always lose with the person with the mic. You're gonna lose. But I wanted people to have a good time. Like I hated the cringy stuff early. I'm like, nah, man, you lose people. Like I hated seeing people leave an art. I'm like, so whenever I went on, I didn't wanted people to feel good. Because one of the things I see now, like if a comic goes on before me and he loses the crowd or he pisses them off and people leave, I'm like, you killed it.
You fucked me because you fucked
like,
your set and then you also fucked me.
And I'm like, come on, don't do that, man. Either just you're not funny, fine, but don't upset the people because then I got to work to bring them back. So for me, because I always liked being on stage, and I was just either throwing jokes or giving stories or talking about realistically what it is. Like you're in college, I'm like, what's on every dude's mind? I'm like, you're trying to have a good time and you're trying to hook up with a chick or the hot chick. Like, let's be real. Ladies, same thing reverse, but you want a dude who's not ugly, who's going to take care of you, and you're probably trying to have the time of your life and walk out with a dude who looks like Michael
Travel,
Jordan.
finding myself, reading a good book.
No, I wasn't getting that between 2001 and 06. No. But at the same time, It was South Jersey, so it was a mixture. We didn't have a lot of. I'm finding
So like
myself.
near Rutgers, because I'm Jersey as well.
So Jersey has 5 RU schools. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
So the debate is, we're the real RU, because you have Rutgers, Rider, Ramapo, Rowan. I was like, dude.
Yeah.
So I went to Rowan in South Jersey. So
Yep.
you got the Philly kids.
Yep.
You got then you got Newark kids. You got Atlantic City kids, and you got North Jersey kids.
Some kids maybe that didn't make it down in Baltimore want to come up. They're just in the
yeah.
tri-state.
So we had a lot of that. So I was a North Jersey kid.
Yeah.
You know. So that's what it was for me. So we had a lot of mixture, black, Spanish, white. You know, maybe because we had a lot of commuters, it was a good mixed population. But for me, I brought my personality, and we just talked about like the realistic things that we saw, and we're talking about food, we're talking about traffic, sports, like whatever it was that came.
One thing I can really appreciate on how you kind of set the mood, and I've noticed this at Dead Crow, is your ability to like relate to the crowd within that first like 30 to 40 seconds, right? Because like Dead Crow, we have 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever seen you do a set where you don't have the crowd on your side when you're starting your written material.
Oh yeah.
Where do you think that comes? Like, obviously you're a very genuinely nice guy is what I would say. Like, I would say you're genuinely nice. I think that carries over.
Yeah, I don't like to be an a-hole, man. That's my thing. Even cursing is a stretch. Like I'm not perfect, but I don't, but literally sometimes my first joke or how I'm going to get them happens right there. It's not like, oh, this is where I'm going in. I'm like, I look at what's something light and funny, and like we can bring it on.
We can all just laugh about it.
And I'm like, we can laugh at the light awkwardness. Like if there's like 4 comics who go on before me and they're all like 4 white guys or 4 white guys and a white girl, come on, I'm like, are you ready for the diversity portion of the night? And automatically like, oh, I'm like, come on, we can laugh, guys. It's okay.
Yeah.
And it's not, I'm not gonna have a bunch of like, now black and brown Spanish jokes. No, it's just, or
you're not making it about that. You're literally just making the observation.
I'm like, it's the observation or something that's light. Like what is it, something that we can all identify with? Are there couples here? Who's had a drink? Who hasn't? I'm like, I like to make the tone, hey, we're gonna have a good time even for the next 3 to 4 minutes. All right, so hold on your seats. It's gonna be wild, and then that's it.
I'm trying to move into that, right? So like I've noticed most of my punchlines that I'm like trying, or like even like my setups, for some reason I don't know why, but I always go to like the darker subject, and it's like I'm like, why am I'm not always thinking about these things. So like, why is this my train of thought when I'm like sitting down to write? So like, what I'm getting at, the reason I'm bringing it up to you is because I noticed one, it works really well, and it's you on stage and off stage, so it's just genuine. I think it would be a little bit different where like, I don't know if you've seen any guys or girls that what they'll do is they'll do that. And then when they come off stage, it just start cursing up a storm, or like, the comics that will like, they
it's
perform
a facade,
clean.
it's fake. Like, this is my character. I'm like, nah, man, I'm me. My energy shifts. I'm like, all right, let's go. It's about to be wild, but I'm like, nah, I still am that guy. And part of it was like my former profession. Like I was a school teacher.
Yeah, you got to be
at one point, and
you're gonna lose kids if you're angry.
To a degree, yeah. Like I taught 1st grade, 3rd grade, high school, and they're like, "Is that what you did?" No, I'm like, I worked in broadcast for a few years. I did consulting. I worked for Verizon. I different areas. So I'm like, I'm a public job, public figure. Like, hey, I can Google you. I'm like, yeah, I work for a freaking state. I work for an institution. Like, you can easily do that. So I'm like, I'm not afraid to offend, but it's like, that's not my point. It's like, have a good time.
Which job? So you mentioned Verizon. You said teacher.
Yeah.
You said you worked for the state.
Yeah. Well, when you're so
Department of Education, is that what you're saying? Okay.
When you work for the state public, not private.
Yeah. What would you say is the best interpersonal job? Not necessarily where like you're affecting people's lives, but you had the most fun interacting with people. Because I've been a salesman, high school, where we would have to like.
I hate sales.
So what were you doing at Verizon?
So selling files, the worst job ever.
What year was that too? Was that like 08, 07?
That was probably like 2012.
Okay.
Like around, yeah. It had to be around.
I remember
there.
Verizon having all that, like when Verizon TV was like pushing FiOS up in Jersey.
God, it was
like everybody needs FiOS.
It was the worst. It was probably like 11, 12. Yeah, I think it was 2011 because 12 I got hired by Atlantic City. But yeah, it was the worst. Only because one, so I'm a great salesman if I have the product there.
Sure.
Like if you're coming up to me, like you come to, you come to a car dealership and I have cars. Yeah, great. I got you. But it's like when you go to the store and you're in Walmart and you're like, all right, what do I need? I got to get cables for this and then just a few groceries. And there's somebody like, hey, I'm going to help you with your internet bill. You're like, dude, I didn't come here for that. And for a lot of years when I worked at an institution, I got free internet. So I used to love those guys. He's like, dude, I bet you I can lower your internet bill. I said, buddy, I'll buy you lunch and dinner. I guarantee you can't lower what I'm paying right now. He was like, all right, what are you paying? I'm like, $3.99. He was like, yeah, no, I can't beat that. I like, have a good day, sir. Kept moving. I get it. I'm like, I don't want to be interrupted by that. But yeah, that was the worst because I just stood there and people were coming in for Verizon Wireless, like for their cell phones. And here is somebody like, hey, I'm trying to sell you Fios. And you're like, dude, I'm just trying to buy a phone or I'm just trying to get an upgrade. And it's just like.
Did you ever see those sales guys that like claimed they were good at selling stuff, but really they were just making like bold accusations?
Oh, dude.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're coming in here for the new iPhone. You know what else has a screen is your TV, and we would love to hook you up with some Verizon.
Dude, I had to do that, and I was like, the reason why I was a bad salesman is because I was an honest salesman. I was like,
yeah.
I'm like, I remember I had one good sale because I was like, dude, I'm gonna shoot you straight. I was like, I wouldn't even buy this because I don't even think it's worth it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you have? I was like, so here's the deal. If I can find you a good deal, I'll tell you. If I can't and you're already better off, like there's no sense.
Yeah.
And we went through it and he actually did. He had two options. And I was like, well, I don't know what your budget is. I was like, I know my boss wants me to throw this 110 at you. I said, but if your budget ain't there, don't do it to
Those
yourself.
are always the best salesmen anyway. Because like, after the fact, we call it like left of the sale or whatever. But
yeah.
You always feel like, all right, I wasn't bent over for this,
Yeah,
like it wasn't forced on me. Like you ever go to a dealership and they're like, I just want
they rip you a new one.
Give me I'm looking for like maybe I don't know a 4-door sedan, and they're like, well, we got this Tonka Tough edition Chevy Silverado.
It's only 30,000 more, but it's safe. I'm like, stop it, dude.
Yeah.
Oh no, I went to a dealership with my buddy. He was getting a car. And I was just looking around. I had my car. I had what was it at the time? A 2000 Camry, I believe. I was fine. I wasn't raking in money to afford a new car. So I'm the worst customer. I'm the guy that's not buying anything. And the guy's like, so what's up? You trying to get a car? I'm like, nah, I'm good, man. I was like, my buddy's here for a car. He goes, what? Were you scared? And I was like, I'm sorry? He was like, what? You scared to get a new car?
Tactic.
And I was like, hey, partner, let me tell you something. I was like, a Middle Eastern dude too. I don't remember where, but I was like, hey, let me let you in on something. I said, never tell another grown man that he's scared, especially at your place of business.
Yeah.
Because how I'm gonna prove to you I'm not scared is one, I either beat you, or two, you just lost a sale, bro.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not affecting my ego. I was like, yeah, I'm scared. I was like, dude, wrong guy.
Yeah.
And I just went out and I was like, hey, when you done, I'm ready to go. I was like looking at him funny. I'm like, dude, you don't do that. No. You're scared. Yeah, I'm scared, sir. Yeah. Please.
That's the equivalent of going to your first open mic and going, this is my first open mic.
Dude.
Right? Like,
you're going to laugh. Get ready. Chuck.
Can you give me. Yeah.
No, man. Oh. Dude, I remember my first open mic, man. It was only 7 people.
Oh, yeah. That was
well, it was, it was a Tuesday, because it was Laughing Buddha in New York.
Okay.
And so as you get better, more the Thursday, Friday dates open up.
Sure.
Friday's no longer an option now, I realize, because they're like doing, shows, but everybody wanted that Friday. And you had to sign up in advance for either, there was like a 7, 9, and 11.
Okay.
Or 8, 10, and 12. And you always did the mid. I was like, I'm not trying to sign up for 11, 12. I'm trying to get the hell out of it at that time. So everybody always wanted that 10 p.m. slot. Or you did 8 if you had a date or some crap like that.
Sure.
But yeah, it was a Tuesday. It It was 6 o'clock. It was 7 of us there, and I was like, "Well, we're here. Here's the start.
Crowd just other comedians?
Yes, it was 7 of us.
Yeah, that's good.
And I was like,
that's the stuff that builds character.
I was like, all right. I said, I'm gonna still get up here and do it. I think it was third or fourth.
That's why I feel extremely lucky to like
do
have
it here?
Wilmington so close,
100%,
and the community so supportive, right? Like,
yeah,
if you're doing good, like at all, like you're gonna eventually just through networking, you're gonna book shows, right? Like,
and I think the benefit of Wilmington is there weren't that many like venues like New York. There's so many. So it's like, all right, where do you do it? But because it's so populous, like once I started doing open mics like on a Thursday, that was a super game changer.
Yeah.
I'm like, it went from 7 to 27. And now 27 is a big deal when you're starting out your first year or so. You're like, oh man, you got comics, but then you got like, they're bringing their friends, or like there's one comic, but then there's their buddy or their 2 buddies. So you're like, all right, I know the other comics.
Yeah.
But now there's actually some real people there. And so, for me, I was like, all right, now I got to really write some stuff down. No lie, my first 2 years, I barely wrote stuff down.
Wow.
It was all because most of my jokes were always, they were life stories.
Sure.
Like there were things I noticed or saw or things that happened to me. People were like, no, dude, how'd you create that? I'm like, I lived it. And they're like, oh, wow. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, dude. So like that for me. And then I was like, I would think of things, and then I was like, oh, how funny would this be?
Yeah.
And then I would pawn it off to my sister, who was my best critic and my worst. My sister was wild. So shout out to you, Stephanie. But I noticed something about her when I was younger. If I told her I heard this joke from somewhere else, she would laugh hysterically. And then if I was like, hey, I came up with this joke, she'd be like, no.
I have my wife, she does the same to me.
I'm like, yo,
I gotta run it through her.
I gotta tell her someone else came up with it. Now we're good. But when I was younger, if I was like, hey, I came up, she was like, mm-mm.
Yeah.
I was like, what the flip?
Yeah.
But then I was like, hey, I heard this on TV, or I heard this, and she'd crack up. I'm like, oh, all right, so it is good. I was like, you just don't want to say you like my jokes.
I know. So like if I do like a first run at a joke, I just wrote it or whatever, I'm about to say it like that night, first time, I have to put it through my wife to see if like, because sometimes she doesn't necessarily get all of the references. So I know if I have enough context to it and she gets it, it works.
One of the things I guess for me works is because of my content, I believe like there's certain things that everyone can identify with.
Sure.
So a lot of my jokes were like being a school teacher. We've all been to school. If you don't have kids, fine. But you were a kid at one point.
Yep.
So some of these you're going to relate to and you understand.
Yep.
So I'm like, yeah. So I still have tons of like teaching material because I taught, whether it was first grade, third grade in high school. I'm like, from the whole like, hey, before you did circle yes or no, do you like me? And sometimes they did maybe and they sent it back, where now it's like, blip. And then it's like, what? I have a problem, mister. I'm like, what happened? It's like, Toby sent me an inappropriate picture. I'm like, what? You're in third grade. What are you doing? Yeah. Like, no. I'm like, no. We had to write like certain things or putting the word like sex on the calculator. You turn out that like what it said. Yeah, I'm
boobs.
like, yo, it's like so advanced now. And I'm like, oh my God.
They lose out on some of that analog humor.
100%, like my wish. And they're like, dude, you're like, whoa, apocalyptic. I'm like, I just want the internet, not electricity. I want the internet to go down for like a full day, just a day.
Yeah, sure.
Which obviously can't happen because a bunch of other stuff is tied into it. Just to see how they're gonna, I have to go outside. Yeah.
That happened.
Talk to people.
That happened here where I live. Like Verizon's either their satellite or some of their antennas were messed up. So I literally didn't have like any service, and it was pissing me off like all day because I was like trying to make calls. I'm like, running in and out of work.
As an adult, like, I understand, but as a kid, imagine.
Oh like, you have no responsibility,
bro. You're on a freaking like I can't. I see it differently. Like I have 5 nieces. They range in different ages. Like the oldest is 30. She's pregnant. Happy for. I'm like, man. The youngest is 6. And like seeing how, the 6-year-old
drastic change,
100%. But even seeing how they were before, like you want to keep them quiet, you give them a device. I was like, what?
Yeah.
How did that happen? So I'm like, for me back in the day, I was like, I don't want to be inside. I'm trying to be outside.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying, but I get it, man, because it's not the same. It's a little more dangerous outside, but I think you lose. And even with young comics, you could tell like people forgot how to communicate in person.
Sure.
And like, I don't get it.
That happened to me when I sobered up. So I last year I got sober, and I noticed there was like a giant void in my personality because now I had just taken out one of those things that I like did as a pastime.
Yeah.
So now with drinking removed, it's like, oh shit, I gotta work on myself now. Like I have
okay.
to like
Okay.
introspectively look like, how do I communicate with people, and like what places am I put, like obviously I have to perform at bars now, so like
Yeah.
trying to healthily communicate with people, and then also still feel like I'm not any different without the alcohol. I'm just sober now.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think part of it too, someone was told to me, and I was like, yo, it is 100% true. Some of the best comics are the ones who observe. You don't have to be an observational comic, but it's like the ones who observe and listen, some of the best ones. It's like when you do that, and I was like, holy crap. And I found myself like doing a lot of observations, and I'm like, oh yeah. And then sometimes it comes out in your comedy, but then yeah, I'm listening. Well, I'm listening to my kids. I'm like, you guys are giving me material left and right. Just listen to people talk about certain things. I'm like, is that a thing?
Bringing up subjects in a specific environment, right?
Oh
like,
man, some of the stuff you hear and then in the location makes it 10 times funnier. Yeah. I'm like, wow. Like I thought I was in a dentist's office.
Yeah.
I don't know how many years ago. And there's a mom talking about contraceptives with her daughter. I'm like, in a dentist's office. I was like,
yeah. This isn't a sperm bank.
I was crying. I was like, did I just hear right? And I was just like, no. I was like, if I make eye contact, they'll stop talking. I was like, literally, the girl had to be, she had to be between.
Too young to be having the conversation, but not like
maybe just getting ready. Like the youngest I'd give her was 13. That'd be
the night before.
She had to be between that 12 to 15 phase where I'm like, if she's 15, I get it.
Sure.
If she's 12, hold on, mom. But I was just like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
But then I would do stuff on purpose. Like one of the funniest things I do on purpose. I love my little brother. He's 9 years younger. We do things on purpose, and he'll play along just to be different. Like, do you notice when you go on elevators, people are always quiet?
Yeah.
No one says anything. So I will say that. Like we'll get on an elevator that's maybe like 8 flights, and I'm like, dude, I don't get why people don't talk on elevators. He was like, yeah, I know. I'm like, well, we should just talk while we're on this elevator, man. I was like, what do you want to talk about? Or I'm like, dude, whatever you do, we got 6 flights. Don't fart. Yeah, and people were like, I'm like, what is going on? Yeah. He'll be like, well, bro, you gave me 2 bean burritos. I was like, hey, man, you asked for them. I'm just saying, at least wait till we're on the 7th floor, and then you can or what we'll do, and I did this, and it was so awkwardly funny. Everybody faces the same way on an elevator. Why do you have to?
Yeah.
We got on the elevator. I don't do this by myself. I'm like, because it makes no sense. I'm with my brother. I'm like, when we get on the elevator, I'm like, we're just going to stand with our elevators, our walls to the back. Yeah. And literally we did. And there had to be like 7 people there. And we're there. And we're like, doop. And we just started talking to each other. Yeah. I forgot what we were probably talking sports. Yeah. But it was just so uncomfortable. Everybody was like, yeah. Why are they like? What is happening? Like, right now? Do you guys want to turn around? Like, no, this is good.
I think there's something to the confinement of it, right? Like, because like you're in a metal box for 10 to 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Unadulterated silence. So like everybody's just quiet. I do the same thing like with my son. Like I'll be like, yo, did you just fart? And then he has to like figure out a way to not blame, like figure out how to not get blamed for a fart.
Ah, that's funny.
In an elevator. And I've already ripped it. So now I've officially like missed the smell to dealt it rule.
Yeah.
And I pass it over to him. And like now I just watch a 7-year-old like fumble around with, no, I didn't fart. It's not. I did not.
It was him.
Yeah. And then I'm like, oh yeah, okay. After all those Cheetos you just ate, and then I just start giving them facts. to play off of.
See, I would find out the girl he likes at school. I'm like, what would Katie think if she found out you were farting on elevators? Huh, pal?
Here's the thing, though, because he's been coming into his personality. So they go to the dentist. My wife takes him to the dentist. And out of nowhere, my dad likes to fart a lot. It's real loud. And he's just like adding all of these specifics to my farting habits. And it's like, yo.
Not the place, buddy. Not the
I'm
place.
not even there. You're tripping on my name and I'm not even there, you know?
So he's seeing how fast your wife is. That's what he's doing. He's like, if dad's making me work on my toes.
He wants to see how much we talk.
Let's see how fast you can do it, Mom. Dads.
How much do mom and dad share? I don't know. Let's find out. My dad farts a lot, And he's hysterical. He's always said some funny stuff. I forget he's gonna be a real character when he's older.
You got my mom. God bless her heart. I love my mother. My mom was the one who was like God. Yeah. She understood the assignment early on. My dad, not so much. So I'm like, all right, Pop. We don't talk about my comedy. Not because it's like my dad's like, oh, it's just like. You didn't get it then. You kind of still don't get it now. Sure. So respectfully, like we don't do that. He's like, hey, have a good show. But that's what it is. My mom, on the other hand,
as supportive as he can be,
without
having to like feel like he's lying to you.
No, not even because, well, for me, respectfully, my dad didn't support it.
Oh wow.
My dad's old school. My dad wanted me to be two things that I hated. He was like, my dad wanted me to be successful. He's like, one. So my dad's from the Dominican Republic. So am I. So, your dreams, like my kid's got to be the next, David Ortiz got to be the next Dominican star. I got hit with an aluminum bat and almost died when I was like 5'6". So I was like, hey, Pop, I don't know if you know this. No, it was just my dad was in a minor league, like AAA team, like, locally. And he's like, I remember I had to get the story from my sister. So my dad tells my brother, hey, watch your brother. All right. So that's how I had to put my brother at 15, my cousin at 15, me at 5. Everybody's doing all stuff. We're there, and I'm playing with a 10-year-old kid. I toss him the ball, he swings. He tosses me the ball and swings, right? And so, unbeknownst to him, it's his turn. He's taking practice swings.
Gink. Yeah.
That's a 3-run shot.
Yeah. Aluminum bats give the worst ding, too.
I passed out. I remember screaming and crying, and then I passed out. And then the next thing I hear, I'm in the hospital, which is not cool when you're 5, that you wake up for a few split seconds and all you hear is the nurse go, doctor, he's losing a lot of blood. And then you go out again. Even I knew that wasn't good at like 5.
Yeah.
So when I was 11, my dad was like, you're playing baseball. And he's like, why are you scared of the ball? I'm like,
because my head was a ball.
I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, there was a bat that came here. So fast flying objects coming towards my face, not really good.
Yeah.
So, my dad was like, well, that's not going to happen. And it was crazy because as I got older, I had amazing hand-eye coordination. Like,
oh, wow.
Like, if I tried, I could have. Like, I had a few coaches. It's like, you have an uncanny ability to put the ball where you want. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, but.
You had like the Batman effect.
I guess so. Like, I literally.
You took two what?
When I played, I won first place every intramural that I played.
Yeah.
I just knew where to put the ball. When, by then I was older. I wasn't scared. I had a helmet, but. My dad never like, let's coach into getting no fear there. So I was like, no. And then he was like, I want you to be an engineer. And I hated math. Like I broke up with math in like 6th grade.
Sure.
I didn't want to do numbers. But I remember the whole play in one day in 6th grade. And my mom saw it. She knew. It was the Pirates of Penzance. The lead actor got laryngitis. I'm a background actor. I was just in choir. I'm in 6th grade. They could have went to any older kid. And I remember Miss Abadessa. She's the reason I went into theater and all that. She was like, can you memorize this in a day? I was like, yeah. She was ready to be like, listen, she told the audience he may be using a book. He might not be. I went in there with no book. I spent the rest of that afternoon, barbershop, dinner, into the morning, going over line after line. The only thing I didn't have memorized was the song. And my mom knew. She was like, that's your lane. So whenever I did it, she was, for it, but it was, make sure you have a backup plan. Make sure you have a backup plan. And I was like, all right, how can I get a backup plan that kind of parlays this? So I went into production. I went into radio, television, and film production. So I was like, all right, cool. My dad's like, oh, you're going to be a reporter. I just played a reporter. Anything I did, it was just acting to me. So they're like, man, you're you're a natural anchor. I was like, no, I just thought about every Dan Rather, Peter Jennings, all the guys I saw. 89.7 WGLS FM here with the Roan Radio Micro Group. They're like, I'm like, it's easy, bro.
Yeah.
Just repeat what you see.
Yeah.
So that was it. And then it was performance based.
And how long did you stay in that, or are you still doing that like periodically?
No, so that was my first job. So like I got a job at NBC 10 in Philly. And then I got a job at a radio station in New York. The radio station at the time, like Hot 97, Kiss FM. Yeah, I was there. Amazing experience. Amazing. You know, I left earlier than what I should have. That was probably my only regret about the job. But I made some amazing connections. Great people I worked with. Like, you meet everyone. But I wasn't starstruck. And I thank my brother for it. Like, my big brother, he met, like, artists. My brother was a lefty and he had amazing graffiti skills. Like he could draw. Yeah. You know, he could break dance. My brother could play baseball. He was a short dude. My brother was gifted and one of the most popular dudes in the city, you know, and then he was a tough guy too, which, you know, I was like, yeah, I didn't get that part, you know, but I used my brother's name so I wouldn't get beat up. They'd be like, no, that's Steven's little brother. Oh, all right. I was like, oh, cool, great. Thanks. But it was because of, you know, hearing that and seeing that. I was like, all right, cool. That was lame. My brother was like, look, I don't care about anybody else. He was like, what's the difference between you and like a celeb? And I was like, he was like, nothing. Just a few commas on their paycheck. They breathe the same air. They bleed just like you do. Yeah. Don't ever be afraid. And so when I went into those jobs, you name it, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Kanye. Like, I was just like, hey, I had a job to do. And I never disrespected the space. I never asked for a picture. I was just like, if they offered it, because they were taking pictures of it, hey, you want my, oh, you know, cool. Yeah. But I was just like, you're human, dude. I don't want to be that. I'm not fanboying. I'm like, nah, that wasn't my job. And people got fired for less. I'm like, I'm not going to go in there. Oh, my. No, stop, man. I'm here to do a job.
Sorry, I just can't do this interview. You are my favorite.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I never even met my favorite rapper. He never came to the studio when I was there. No, Mos Def, which goes by Yasin Bey now. Yeah. Yeah, he was my guy. My number one. I don't think he's the greatest. He's just my favorite rapper. Yeah. People get into that. But that helped, man. And then you in that culture, you in that space. So, you know, I was like, oh, man, this is a great one. You know, I'm like, all right, I can kind of use this material. But then when you're at a show, some of the weirdest things that you see fans do, bro, I was like, geez, I'm like, yo.
I don't know why I'm shaking my head. I don't have fans that like come to the show.
But they even fans, but like the things that
audience members.
They're willing to say or do just to get backstage. I'm like, my guy, this isn't like, it's not the president. This person can't change your life. And I was like, yikers. But yeah, my mom was like, keep going. I see it. And my brother was like, don't worry about anybody bigger than you. Just do you, man. And you gonna get there. And remember, I heckled one dude with my brother. Like that, my first time heckling was with my brother because I was trying to like show my brother I was cool. I remember. And that's how I knew I was quick on my toes, because the dude said one or two jokes and I was like, oh crap. And my brother looked at me like, bro, you're not gonna come back? And I was like, oh, word. And then
but your feet stink.
Pretty much. Like I forgot what it was, but it was a few mama jokes here and there, but you gotta prepare yourself when you get heckled. My favorite one. And like, I don't like to be messed up to people. Like, do you remember like your best like takedown on somebody who heckled you? Yeah. I was in college. It was during like Making the Band when it was out. Diddy's Making the Band and Chappelle show. And Making Band, there was this dude named Dylon. I don't know if Dylon. Right? So it was like, who's the best rapper? It's Dylon, and Dylon, right? So it was during that whole hype, and these dudes I was hosting and they were doing rappers. Like there was like 4 back-to-back rappers. And I was like, who's your favorite rapper here tonight? I was like, nah. I was like, ain't none of them touching my favorite rapper. I was like, my man about to murder it. And they were like, what? And everybody's like, who's who? I was like, easy. I was like, the best rapper in the game. And I was like, Dylon. And everybody lost it because, you know, it's the hype of Chappelle. This dude in the back goes, you suck. Oof. And like, it was like, people were like, oh, and laughter. And I was like, and it just hit. Like, I've never ripped somebody. I've never done a your mama, like, joke so quick. And I was like, I'm like, sir, you're right. I was like, I do suck. You're correct. I do suck. I was like, but you know who taught me how to suck? your mother. Now that woman can suck. Fellas, let me tell you, yo. And they're like, I was like, mean suck. I was like, so if I don't suck that well, it's because I got to get more practice in. His mom, teach you how to.
Yeah.
And then
She's got a master class.
Then I found out who heckled me. I was like, it was my barber and his friends in the back. I was like, so after the show, my barber was like, bro, you didn't have to do him like that. I was like, I didn't know that was you. I'm like, why would you come heckle me, my guy?
Y'all don't know that. You don't know this, but the lights are real bright up there.
Man, but he took it in stride. He was like, I ain't gonna front. It was funny. I was like, all right, cool. Whew.
Yeah.
Dodged the bullet there. I was like, not every comic can fight.
Yeah, you were about to lose your hairline for a little bit.
Dude, that dude was 6'3". He was like a freaking middle linebacker. Oof. He was bad. He was a good dude. I was like, oh, man. But that's what saves you too, man. Like comedy gets you out of a few jams, man.
Oh, yeah.
100%. I don't even know how many times.
There's been a couple of times where like I've made jokes while being stopped by like the police, and I'm like 80% sure it's what got me out of a ticket.
Oh, I used some of my acting skills or like not even jokes right out of the gate to get me out of stuff, because unfortunately, man, it's a thing. Like, you know, you get profiled when you get pulled over sometimes, which sucks.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I'm by myself, I'm like, it's a wrap. But if I got people in the car, I'm like, all right, how can we parlay this? How can we do this? Yeah, man. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, you do this, you do that. Trust me, just go with it. And then we get at it, like, dude, I was like, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Like, you know, helping people get out of situations. I'm like, all right, throwing jokes here and there. So I'm like, all right, what's going on here? Like, you know, you got to use it. You know, especially if like there's a tense situation. I'm like, all right, what can we do to ease this? You know? And I didn't mind being the butt of a joke if it removed the tension. And I think that's part of it too, is like knowing the situation. Man, like when you have a hostile room, you could flip it though.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, all right, I'm either gonna be hostile back or
punch up.
Or I can punch up. Not be meek. You know, you can still be a nice guy. Yeah. But I'm like, hey, don't let the nice guy fool you though. I was like, you know, when they're hostile, you know, I'll come out, I'm like, I'm not an ugly dude, but I'm not Michael B. Jordan. Yeah. However, there's a dude, I'm like, bro, you're like a 4 out of a 10. You're heckling me. I'm like, all right. I'm like, dude, get him in. I'm like, this is your girlfriend? Yeah. I go, enjoy it now because you're buying drinks for her. But at the end of the night, chances are she's going to ask for my phone number. I'm going to say, no, you're just going to leave with me. And you're going to Uber home. So good luck, sir. But, I was like, I'm kidding. You guys are married yet? I was like, if the baby looks like me, don't get mad. Yeah. You know, stuff like that. But it's like recognizing it. And I'm like, cool. But like for me, man, I tell other comics, I'm like, read the room, but be yourself. Yeah. You know, but be yourself at all occasions, no matter who's in front or who's behind. Like Matt White, good dude. He's taught me so much, man. Shout out to you, Matt. He was like, dude, he taught me about like positioning, like when you go first, when you go second, what, you know, recognizing that. He's like, and you don't dismiss the other comic. Yeah. You know, it's like if a comic goes before you and they were trash, he was like, you still boost them. Yeah. If they were great, cool. You just set the tone, you keep going. Like, and it boggles me like sometimes where I see other comics not do that. And I'm like, and then I see some who do, like Wilmington. What I like about Dead Crow, what I like about Wilmington is there's always the all right and one, like, all right, let me on top of that. And you know, and they'll tell, hey, I'm gonna rip on you on this. You go with that because you're going for cool, go play with it. And I'm like, I like that camaraderie, you know, because I'm like,
they all know it's just jokes. That's it. I think the only times I've ever felt like somebody wasn't like as warranted to do that. Yeah, they just had like a specific thing that they were doing. If that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's cool if you want to do that. So for me, like my comedy, like I like Brian Regan, I like Dave Chappelle, Martin Lawrence was the reason I got into it. Like Robin Williams, I was watching Clean Guys, you know, Jerry Seinfeld, and I was watching some dudes who were, you know, dirty. I personally don't do blue collar dirty comedy, but that doesn't mean someone who does it, like, I don't respect. I'm like, bro, Chappelle still cracks me up. I'm like, some of these dudes who drop F-bombs crack me up. But then again, I'm like, I can watch Brian Regan and Bill Burr, and Brian Regan doesn't curse. Bill Burr's dropping them left and right, and they both crack me up. You know, I'm like, you can,
because the only thing that matters is, are people coming to your show and are they laughing? That's all that matters.
Yeah, and what kills me now is like the whole like, not me too. I'm like, I know the wokeism. They're like, you can't offend. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Now, offending to what degree? I'm like, you got it. Come on, they're jokes for a reason.
Can I tell you this? I did a show at a dance studio.
Okay.
2 other comics. It was a dance recital. Okay. So we were
dance?
No. But here, you know what I did do is forget mics.
Holy
So
snackers.
we are sprinkled in between dance routines. So I went first. It was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 routines before me.
Oh my God.
I go another 2 routines, then the next person, another 2 or 3 routines, and then the last person. What? Right? And I had a transgender joke, and the wildest thing that happened is one of the some of the dancers were offended because I had mentioned transgenderism, right? And it was a I'll tell you the joke. The Army officer that got in trouble for selling some of the like generals' medical documentations to Russia, he got indicted. She got indicted. And I go, the military's not even mad about the documents being sold to Russia. The only thing that they live by is you can really only switch teams once. And it crushed in the room. Crushed. There was a transgender in the audience who was crying, like laughing, right? And the dancers had given the owner, shout out to Jim, an ultimatum. It was like, you better make a public apology for the jokes or we're leaving. And he was like, well, I guess you're leaving. He stood by and then he texted me immediately. He texted me as if like it was because I felt bad that he had to deal with it the whole day afterwards. Yeah. And I was like, look, I'm not going to apologize for the jokes.
Right.
I do apologize for the headache of having to deal with that. He's like, it wasn't even about that.
That's the new. I wouldn't say new, but because it's current
victimism.
That and that wasn't a topic like 10 years ago. You weren't,
sure.
It wasn't doing so. So, if you in the 90s, black comics making fun of white people, they were like, I'm offended, I'm out. I'm like, we still laughed at each other to a degree, But me personally, like, I don't like doing offensive jokes because I don't want to offend anyone because I don't know what their background is.
Sure.
But certain jokes, like, I'm like, wait, I can't throw a fat joke because I'm not fat.
Yeah.
Like, is that what it is now? Yeah. I'm like, so do I have to say I'm a reformed fat guy so I got fat jokes? Like, is that what it is? Yeah. Or like, hey, what?
I'm a born again skinny man.
I'm like, I used to be a white guy, so I got white jokes for you. Or I'm like, what? I'm like, what can we? I'm like, come on. I'm like, you can be clever.
Yes.
And with it, like I heard one of this dude in Dead Crow before the pandemic, he had a funny trans joke and it wasn't a trans joke. Like it was a play on the word.
Okay.
And the host lost it. And
just
didn't
went
even
off on him.
Yeah, he was like, whoa, what are you doing? Cause I just remember the word. He goes, you know what kind of parent is the worst parent? He goes, a trans parent. And the dude was like, whoa, what are you, whoa? And I was like,
listen to the joke.
And he went and he did it. He goes, hey, idiot. He goes, listen to the joke before you get off them. He goes, oh my God, don't offend. He goes, that's not where I'm even going, you dummy.
Yeah.
And then he finished, he goes, you know why they're the worst parents? Because when kids are home, they're like, Mom, Dad, I can't see you. And I was like, that is hysterical. Yeah. Like, dude, transparency.
Yeah.
It's like, if you see transparently through them, that's the word.
They can't see, yeah.
And it was hysterical. And he was like, dude, he's like, it's a play on words. He goes, he's like, I wouldn't offend, and I got it. And it was, I think had that guy waited, he would have heard the joke.
Sure.
And I think that's where we are now. It's like, some people are clever, like that gentleman, cool. And then some people want to be offensive, and I'm not cool with the offense. I'm like, don't do that.
Here's the thing.
I'm like, you shouldn't, because you want to come and enjoy yourself. one thing to be poked fun at. It's another thing to be like ostracized and they're coming at you. I'm like, nah, man, that's not cool whatsoever.
Yeah. On both sides too, because also what I've learned, I like talking about those rougher topics.
That brings us closer.
Yeah, exactly. I want to not only like bring light to it, but like these aren't my like political views. These are jokes, right?
Yeah.
So the one thing I did notice though is as long as it's being written from a place of like enjoyment, like I want this to land.
Yeah.
It should work. Here's the issue too, is I found myself going up there with half-cocked premises that just sound like offensive statements.
Yeah.
So you're like, consequently...
Yeah, how do you do it? See,
no, you just have to spend more time. Like, what is the funny in this?
Yeah.
Right? Like look at what you're writing.
You map it out.
What is the funny in this?
Yeah.
Because if you, like, I've done jokes on the Little Mermaid recasting.
Okay.
Which I thought was a real missed opportunity to call it Lil Mermaid. Thank you.
Okay.
No, but like I did like, all right, well, if they're going to, recast everybody, or sorry, if they're going to recast her, recast everybody. Sebastian the Crab could be Jack Black. And then I was like going through act outs of like,
okay, who would be who?
Jack Black playing a Sebastian, right?
Yeah.
And just in some, demographics, like I did that joke in Raleigh, fell flat because I'm a white guy talking about black recasts, right? So it just doesn't get received unless it's fully thought through, though, right?
I was say because the premise is funny. You went from a Jamaican to a chubby white guy.
I'm doing everybody, yeah, exactly. And I'm making fun of my own race, right? Which, just in some. I don't know. In some pools, it just doesn't. Sometimes the jokes just don't work. You can deliver it the same way 10 times, and 8 out of 10.
I get how we're getting progressively better, but I don't want it to be too PC. Like if I come from an angle, sometimes I'm making fun of both people. Like I'm not using it anymore because it's done. But I was doing in November. I had this campaign bit I was doing because all those freaking commercials. Yeah. First of all, I'm like, I'm not super high IQ. I don't know. I haven't tested my IQ in a long time. But I'm like, these commercials, like anyone who believes them face value, I'm like, are you? But I loved both sides because they're equally horrible, Democrats and Republicans with the whole, Yeah. So when I hear like Sherry Beasley wants to put pedophiles back
going
on the
in
street,
on Sherry Beasley,
and it was like, what was she running against? Ted? Was it somebody Lee? I got the names mixed up, and it's like, the other one wants to make abortion legal and wants to put guns in school, and I was like, wait a minute.
Sherry Beasley wants registered sex offenders back on social media where your kids are. They were going in on her ass.
Yeah, and it's like, I think it was Ted Budd or whatever, and it was like, he wants to stop abortions even if they're incest. I was like, wait a minute,
hold on. We didn't need
Where did he say that?
Why do we need this adjective?
I was like, hold on, look at this. I'm like, can I see the documents where they both said either? Or? But I found that hysterical. I was like,
because it's just turned into slander campaigns. That's all it is.
That's where a lot of it is. It's like, So when all these politicians, I'm like, talk to your local politicians. Yeah. Like people are like, really? I'm like, yeah, that's where it matters. I'm like, talk to your state legislators, talk to your mayors. I'm like, find out. I'm like, you have the power. Yeah. Who's the new judge you're putting in? Who's the assemblyman you're hiring? They're like, I'm like, your president can't do everything. I'm sorry. I'm like, I'm like, no. I'm like, yes, his hands are tied. Oh, yeah. I think you should pay more attention to your governor and your assemblyman and congressman and your just saying.
Start local and move up.
Man. And those are the people I come at. Both sides. I don't care. I'm like, do you favor one? I'm like, no.
When you think of like some of the best bits, they're the ones that cover all sides.
Oh, yeah.
Because no matter what, you're going to appease either like both or three or like whatever scenario. Like Dave Chappelle's joke on transgender women in the vehicle with him or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's the best because he covers everything. He doesn't miss any demographic that's like feeling like they're getting shit on by police at this point, right? So like it's very inclusive. The problem is what we stated though, is like just mentioning LGBTQ or trans specifically, that's where people, like, they don't even listen to the bit. They just hear the trigger word and they immediately feel offended.
Yeah. No, I've been asked, this is 2 real statements. I had somebody on the far right ask me, well, do you think America's great? And I felt like going, are you waiting for me to say again? Or like, what was that? Like, he's like, do you think America's great? I was like, Mike, yeah, I'm here. There's a lot of freedoms and a lot of things I can do here that I can't do in other places. Yeah. But then I've also gotten, and as a former teacher, I like messing with people grammatically. Sure. And I had a young lady, are you woke? And I was like, I'm awake. What? Yeah. I'm not woke. I'm awake. I can't be woke. I can be woken. Yeah. You know, I woke Eyes up. Wide shut. She was like, you know what I mean? I go, I think so, but do you know what I mean? Because I'm awake right now. I'm like, are you awake to your incorrect grammar? Right there. Yeah. Lost her. She was like, this isn't a joke.
Sorry, I didn't know this was Grammarly.
Oh, man. Yeah. I was like, I'm not a grammar Nazi. I was like, and even that.
Well, because you're responding to such a stupid question anyway.
I'm like,
it's a loaded question.
I'm like, stop. Like the extremes of both sides, I can't get with. When people are like, so what do you identify as? I love that question because I never give a proper answer. Like someone asked me and they're like, you got to be careful with your responses. Yeah. And they were like, yeah. So I use adjectives for like jokingly, like someone asked, what are your pronouns? I was like, humorous, handsome, and hungry. And they're like, I'm like, why? Come on, man. Yeah. I'm like, are you trying to set me up for something? But first of all, I think those are hysterical. I'm like, and they're true. I'm like,
I've set some people up with that, like where like I'll describe my hobbies. Yeah. And I start to lead them one, like I'll go, I think, I don't know, drugs and everything should be legal, right? I think like everybody should be able to experiment with what they want. Yeah. Like take this, for instance, imagine just, taking a lot of drugs and then just going to a shooting range and just being able to fire your AR-15. No,
I think
just leading that, like just, they're like, oh, I'm not. And then like,
I think what's lost a little bit is just having the dialogue, the conversation. Like my thing is, I'm not always right. I'm going to be wrong many times. I say, but for me, I'm like, I want to understand you and I want you to understand me. Mm-hmm. So that even if we're like, we stop the convo, like, I think you're wrong. Cool. I may think you're wrong. However, do you at least understand what I was saying? Because I at least want to understand what you're saying in all areas. And I think part of that is comedy too. Like, I don't want to, like, it's not even about offending and like, you're right or wrong. I'm like, wait, but you at least understand where I'm going with this? All right, cool. Because I want to know where you're going with this, because even though a comic's on stage, but it's still two-flow conversation. Mm-hmm. Only the audience is speaking through laughter and gestures, and you know how that's going and how you can work.
And sometimes the silence is louder than the laughter.
Man, I'm telling you, man. I still remember that when New York. I was like, no, but I think smackers.
To that point, people also don't know how to end a dialogue, understanding that we just don't agree before you get into that like attack phase, right? Because as soon as it's kind of indoctrinating now. I guess that's a very strict word to use, but it's getting to a point where people the only thing they associate with disagreement is now attack. Like, I don't like you because you don't like my shit.
And cancel culture. I'm like, why
are we ruining people? Like Harvey Weinstein, terrible man. Cancel that guy.
More than terrible. That dude.
Right.
That whole system, like that. Yeah. The industry is dark. Like
I was selling containers. I would spit into containers, and I would just, what Harvey Weinstein's dick tasted like.
Oh God.
And then I would sell them to female prisoners.
Oh, you're horrible. You're horrible. Horrible. But yes, I agree. That dude is just scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, cancel culture's gotten real for certain things. Like, I don't like this. I don't like you. So now you should be done. Like, to what degree? Like, I can understand like that. Yeah, 100%.
You notice
there's some areas.
Do you think? I think I'm gonna. The comedians who genuinely, I think, came up like through a rough comedy scene. Yeah, you can tell they really don't give a fuck, and they're gonna continue their art. Like, think of Louis C.K. Yeah. Right. They were going after Chris Rock for a while, weren't they? For some of his shit. Kevin Hart. Yeah. Anybody that's come up through that, right? They bounce back from it because they realize that it was a fuck up or it was a small, time period.
But it's also
of their career.
Who's supporting them and who's not.
Sure.
Like, so I believe like everybody should have those constitutional rights.
Sure.
I'm like, cool. So when people ask me like, what I believe when it comes to certain ideologies or faith systems, I'm like, listen, man, like I identify as a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
but
I have to burn you now after this.
Cool beans. But my job, I say, is not to convert. I'm like, yo, my name is Charles, not Jesus. I'm full of flaws and mistakes. I'm like, so if you ever have questions, like you want to talk about it, I'm like, I'm willing to talk about it with you.
Yeah.
I'm getting better every day, but it's not my job to be like, you're a horrible human being for XYZ unless you're doing horrible things. Like you murdered someone. Yeah, homie. Yeah, that's pretty bad. You're a thief. You might want to stop. That's not cool. Like there's certain things that are just like extremely like, yo, that's horrible. But at the same time, it's like, you can't make fun of these people. You can't make fun of this topic. You can't say do this.
Sure.
You can't do that. Like, and sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't because of like where you grew up. And
where
like
do you
what
stand on? So I'm going to try and run a couple of things that people have been canceled by.
Throw it.
And then we'll see if it's a cancelable offense. Okay. We're going to start off hot. We're going to go blackface.
Talking about it, no. Doing it, yeah.
Cancelable offense.
100%. Because, and it's not just so, it's like, oh, you shouldn't do it at all. Here's the deal. Is it a documentary? Is it a movie about the history of that?
Sure.
That's different. Like, all right, they're making a movie about why it's bad. It's not a sketch to be humorous. So if we're doing that, yeah. But if we're talking like, oh, it's a prop, it's sketch. I'm like, no.
Do you feel genuine offense if you see that?
Not.
What do you feel?
I look at it and I'm like, well, first I'm like, what the flip? Yeah. What I'm like, all right, I'm waiting to see what happens. I'm like, is there a pun? And it's because the guy didn't know, and it's like, it's a 2-person sketch, and like, no, you did it backwards, jackwagon. That's
like, let's say like,
oh,
conversely, whiteface, right? So like Dave Chappelle does The Reporter. It's fucking hysterical, right? Key and Peele, they played the Nazis in the one skit.
Yeah, a lot of
for some reason,
a lot of black comedians have done, and we never heard whiteface. That's exactly new, but like just portraying a white person, yeah. Because the part of it is this is kind of now the film history of me was when films were being made, no black actor.
Yeah. That's what I would assume, right?
Doing that
there was a chokehold on it by a specific group of people.
There was no need for black actors
Sure.
to put on white makeup to portray a white person. It was just, we're going to put on blackface to portray a black person.
Yep.
And then when we had black actors, we still did different things, and then cartoons. So there's never been that equivalent. Same thing with Asian actors.
Sure.
And more.
Can I say this?
What?
The Great Wall and casting Matt Damon for that movie was the wildest thing I think I've ever seen in my life. Having Matt Damon, he's a great actor.
There's been the few
to play Asian.
But listen,
was so wild.
I go further back when I think about how they did it in the 50s. Marlon Brando played he was wearing a kimono, and I don't know how they did it, and I'm not doing the whole like he did the whole. I'm like, wow,
I totally forgot about that.
Mickey Rooney,
but he was the fucking goat,
dude.
But you're talking Marlon Brando,
yeah. But yes, he was. However,
yeah,
they were like, we can't get an authentic Asian, so let's get someone.
Yeah,
and we're gonna. I'm like, dude,
we don't have somebody with the right spunk.
Come on, what was it? John Wayne played wild. Genghis Khan. Yeah. Come on, man. Like, I loved West Side Story, and then I found out that some of the guys weren't even real Puerto Ricans. I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
So, like, no, I think that
when I think Marlon Brando, I think Streetcar Named Desire. That's
On the Waterfront, because it was one of my favorite. Because that's where you get the iconic Charlie, I could have been somebody. I could have been a contender.
The bee sting, but
bee sting voice. But I think that's
now I will say this: so like when you think back to, Tropic Thunder, I think realistically in the last like decade, that's probably been the only blackface. But like when it's done in a like when it's known,
but look at how they explained it in the movie.
Exactly,
too.
And I think that's why it's so bulletproof. Is that he is they're making fun of it.
Yeah, because even the dude's movie there, he's like, they got a white guy to blame back at me. Yeah, and like you get it, because then they're like, well, what about white chicks? I'm like, who? Because not everybody in my ilk is gonna laugh at that. I'm like, a lot of the old sketches and stuff, like, you can't get away with now. Like, half of In Living Color, they're like, you can't do it. I'm like, and some of that stuff was.
You want to know why?
Hysterical.
Look at SNL now.
Oh gosh,
that's what happens
when I always wanted to be on SNL. Who knows? Maybe one day. But
you can't have
some of their jokes are like funny, and then some of them miss.
Have you seen Gillian Keeves?
What did I? Oh, that was.
No, it's one of the lights. Whatever.
We're good. Have I seen what?
Gillian Keeves. So Shane Gillis and what the hell's his name? Keevers. But either way, it's a sketch comedy show. So Shane Gillis, he was the one that was canceled for the Asian thing on SNL. He runs a sketch comedy show now.
I got the face. Now you gave me the name to go with.
Stretched Out Baby.
Yeah.
He looks like a Stretched Out Baby. Their stuff, they touch some pretty funny topics. Yeah, and it's all satirical. But like that's what you can't do comedy on primetime without like having to punch up. SNL has they have some all right sketches nowadays, but for the most part, it feels like most of them are a flop because everybody's so scared to write.
And you should be able to make fun of certain things without offending stuff. I'm like,
you need to give the sketch the same way you do it in Tropic Thunder. You need to be able to like satirically, annotate it while it's happening. Like, that will give it like, oh, okay, everybody can laugh now.
Yeah, like, was it one of the, like, I'll rewatch it, is that newscast, that racial newscast skit on SNL.
Yep.
When Keenan is playing, when they're like 1 for 1, they're like, I bet she was black. Oh, I bet she was white. They're like, oh, 1 for 1. Oh, that's 2 on 2. And they're like, a Latino man. No, skip that. Go to the next one. One. Like, that one was so well done because they're like trying to guess who the perpetrator is for said crime. Are they black? Are they white? Using some of the things like, and it's like when got into a fight when somebody stepped on his Air Jordan. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I hear Air Jordan? He's like, whoa, that's black for sure. Boop, another one for us,
Yeah, till it's like a Florida man one, and it's like everybody's
it's like, and it's like some of the stuff is like funny, but I think you got to be careful. But I think also you also got to be able to laugh.
Sure.
Like there's certain things now that are now norm that weren't. Like if someone was in the audience with purple and blue hair and in 2002, they're like, hey man, you having a bad week, sir? Or ma'am, ma'am, did you look in the mirror? Like
that was the horse girl in high school. I was like, I'm and now I'm a horse.
Several, and then it's like, okay, it's the norm, like because women, and some men experiment too, like with different color hairs and things of that nature, and like, all right, I get it. And it's probably not even that funny anymore. It's like, all right, what else can I do differently? Yeah. I'm like, and I think that's the true beauty of a good comics is like, okay, you can be funny and not offensive. Find a new angle. Find a new lane.
Is happening. I think we're kind of bouncing back, but everybody is so played out on the hair coloring and piercings and tattoos that I think people are now like, I'm actually a born again Christian. I'm going back to Catholicism. I'm doing this, and I'm like, they're now starting to like move back to like the 2090s
circa
what
comedy. People
think was like normal back then.
Yeah, and I think you can, like, that's why I'm like, yo, you can make fun of like just some of the, that's why I just think of the normal stuff that we go through. I'm like, I'm like, extreme doesn't, at least for me, doesn't do it. And I'm like, there's no need to do that. I'm like, we gotta have more fun talking about like everyday things like food and children.
Sure.
And like, are you kidding me? Like, dude, my dad gave me super like, I'm like, Dad, you have no idea how much material you gave me growing up. And then just going off of that, or like just little different things like Tinder, Bumble. I'm like, oh, dating apps. I'm like, what can't you do with that? A litany of stuff. Like you get pulled over, a litany of stuff. Like, so I'm like, yeah, what can't you do without?
My dad's giving me a couple of jokes too.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Did you meet him? Like,
Never.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's been out for a while.
Maybe he'll be back.
I'm gonna cry after this. No.
I'll give you a shoulder to cry.
Well, you know what I used to do is, especially at work, when people would be like, oh, my parents are coming down for the weekend, I'd be like, oh, weird flex.
That's good though.
Cool. Yeah.
That's good.
No, dude. I'd be lying to say if like I'm kind of like 100% past it. I wrote a 23andMe joke that like I wanted to find out who my dad was.
Yeah.
And the joke goes that the results took a while, but when I finally got it back, it turns out I'm 100% cum. And then like you're supposed to spit in it, right? So then I do like a whole act out of like the scientists getting it, and then like they're like, oh yep, we got another one. Like fucking idiot came in the bottle. But
okay,
I've got a couple where he like I did. I used to get mad because I kind of grew up in a rough neighborhood, and everybody
Where'd you grow up?
Asbury
Park.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's rough.
Asbury. I went to high school in Neptune. So
okay.
we were like right there.
Yeah, I have friends who went there too. Yeah. That's not an easy place.
No.
No.
Especially being like, and I'm not trying to like minority like.
Nah, bro, you a white kid in Asbury Park in Neptune, man.
I was a minority, right? Like.
Yeah.
So growing up like that, it was always funny, but like kids would always get on me about having no dad. And then the joke is, it's like, I don't understand why they were so upset. Every single one of them, they had like 2 or 3.
I see. No, that's funny. If you set it up and you put it in, it's like, I don't know why. It was like I was jealous of them.
Yeah, let me get one,
like,
bro.
What? Ricky had 2, 3 dads.
Yeah.
He had one from 1 month to 3 months. The other one, I was like, yeah. So you can play around with that, man. Yeah. But that makes you tougher, man. Like
it does.
You being the white guy,
I started at a deficit. My mom was an addict, and I never met my dad, right? So like, that was me coming up, right?
Bro, you identify with a lot of people, especially
regardless
in that
of skin color. Yeah.
Because people who don't know, Asbury Park and Neptune is very colored.
Yeah.
A lot of melanin out there.
Yeah. So when did you make the move down to North Carolina?
2018.
Okay.
And it wasn't for comedy. It was honestly
just wanted to switch it up.
No, I got offered a job, man. To be quite
nice.
honest, it was just they offered me a job. I was trying to get to San Diego or Atlanta.
Okay,
honest to God. And I was working at a university. University was like, "Hey, they're looking for folk. Would you move to North Carolina?" I'm like, "No wife, no kids. Heck yeah, sure, why not?" And I went for it.
Yeah.
And my sister was the closer. It wasn't anybody else.
Yeah.
My sister lives in Raleigh, and she was like, "Well, Charles, think about it." She's like, I'm only 2 hours away. She's like, get to see the girls. She's like, I cook on the weekends. I was like, sold. My sister's a baker. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
God. And so that's what it was. And then it was in the midst of that year, I was like, I got to find something. And I found out that Dead Crow did open mic. I didn't know when to go. So like a goofball, I went in, sign up start at 7. I was like 33rd that night because I didn't know to come a half hour earlier and go to the back when it first was.
It's an hour now.
So, but the good part about when we do it is you get to, the camaraderie
mingle
with the other. Yeah, hey, man, like either a new guy or some of the others that and you're not like, you get there, you're not fighting. Well, hey, wait a minute, I got here first. I better be in front. I'm like, come on, man, we're all here unless someone's got to like, hey, man, I got kids, I got to wait. You mind if I just,
And I hate doing that, right? Like, so like, those days, I always just take that on the chin as like, these are the days like you're gonna look back and like you're doing a set at 11 o'clock at night.
Nah, man.
And it's gonna be for nobody, but
Well, when you do that early on, yeah, but then after a while, you gotta.
We got to remember, I'm your 1.5. I've only been doing comedy for.
But hey, man,
a minute.
Yeah, but there's some people 1.5 in, and they're freaking phenomenal, and they like gangbusters. Like, I'm pretty sure had I hit it as hard as I am now when I was younger in New York, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
I probably would have been touring or something.
Yeah.
Not saying like, oh, I'm the greatest. No, I just the work ethic and being able to have
the exposure too, because you have so many. Yeah, everybody's already there.
But it's that. But let me ask you, what brought you into it? Dude, I don't know if you know, it is so weird, this little couch setup.
Is it slipping you down?
Because I'm here, I feel like my sweater's rising up, and I'm about to like choke up. But nah, I'm good.
I'll work on getting a better couch.
No. It's the angle with the mic.
I bought this.
Like, part of me almost wanted to hold it like it was a.
Yeah. Well, I got this from
comfy as hell.
The casting couch set.
Is that what?
Yeah.
Is that the dog or is that your previous person?
No, oh man, where do I start? I've always been an attention seeker. I think that's just from my upbringing.
Okay.
I didn't get a lot of
same here, but I was the youngest.
Yeah, I think most of it, like, I never had a fear of like talking in front of people. I wouldn't say my childhood is fucked up, but that's relative, right? Like, when I start to explain it to other people, it might seem like it's fucked up.
Right.
And I don't really like doing that often anyway, because it just feels like me like crying about it. But it was. I always enjoyed making people laugh, changing their moods, being able to like up their spirits, whether it was through like just acting goofy or something I said. So I've been in the military for 10 years, almost 11 in June. So like. I was telling you before the pandemic, right? So like started the podcast, whatever, was working bits out. But
how many people say thank you for your service? Do you ever get tired of that question?
It's not that I get tired of it. I genuinely don't know how to respond to it.
Really?
Yeah, it's
wow,
a weird exchange.
I would think if I just said,
because for us it's a 9 to 5, right? Like I'm not protecting freedom every fucking day.
Right.
I'm actually very rarely protecting freedom.
Right. But you're more equipped to do it than I am. Like,
sure. I mean,
I never. I
went through some of the boo-boo training. Like that was
like the only thing I got was my concealed carry license.
Yeah, and you're probably more effective in the U.S. than I am.
Don't know that, but like I have family who serve, so I respect like my uncles, cousins. So my uncle was the only one who went to war.
You know what I think? When I retire, I think I'll be a little bit more appreciative of it because I'll have had it'll be behind me. But like while I'm in it, it feels like a 9 to 5, right? So it'd be like if you find out that somebody is a Verizon salesperson, you're like thank you for your service.
I'm not thanking him for jack. I think it's the quality of work though. Like,
true.
I was a school teacher. Be like, hey, thank you for your service. I'm like, hey, you welcome. I'm like, you know what I got to do with these little ragamuffins for 8 hours? A bunch of hopped up energy kids. So when I see somebody, nurses, teachers,
sure,
but military, I'm like, you're doing something that most Americans, most citizens are either unable to do. There's some who want to, but are unable, and then some who are like, I'm gonna just be real. I'm too scared of that stuff.
Yeah.
So hats off to you doing so.
Yeah.
And so I say it from that perspective because I didn't. I was a freshman in college when 9/11 happened. Like I knew exactly where I was, and for a split second I thought about enlisting, and my brother was like, "Yeah, bro, it's not gonna happen." Because my brother wanted to enlist him because of his knees. They're like, "Dude, they're shot. You can't. You couldn't." So I was like, "Yeah, you're not gonna do that." And it's like, no. Like you're in college.
Statistically, you wouldn't have come back.
You're probably right. But my brother was like, "Yeah, you're not."
I like to think of it this way because at a certain point in my military career, I had gotten gypped, so I never went to Afghanistan. My biological mom's birthday was September 11th, so like it was a very frustrating day for me. One, I didn't really know what happened, like the grandiose aspect of like the World Trade Center falling. Right, I was like 7 years old.
I was just say because I was 17. So
that's
crazy. Like you think about it, you were 7, in like second grade, and I'm a freshman in college.
There was 100% a point of that day where I was digging in my butt, like
And meanwhile, I was here hoping my mom got home safely because she didn't work too far from.
Yeah. Like
Crazy.
and it was wild. So like, there's all these fire trucks going and stuff, and like there was always a back.
And you were right there. Like we were both in Jersey. You were just a lot closer.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like, there was always a portion in the back of my head that like I want to serve, right? I remember 9/11 fucking my shit up for a while. The whole neighborhood felt it. Like Jersey, New York, New Jersey. It was a very different environment.
100%.
Through that decade, right? Like the first 10 years of 9/11 was rough. Like everybody, like that day, businesses were shutting down or they were doing like some sort of commemorative something.
Yeah.
So when I enlisted, I never really got to go to Afghan. Okay. And it's just kind of how the way the deployments worked for the unit that I had gotten to. So there's always a piece in the back of my head that like I kind of felt gypped. I didn't get the experience that I wanted, whether I was ready for it or not, whether I was going to come home from it or not. Yeah. But that's not for saying like my first 9 months in the fleet, I had deployed, but we went to Libya. So Benghazi had just happened.
Okay.
We went to Tripoli.
Man.
So we were on the other side, but
okay.
We were standing security at the embassy annex there.
Okay.
Meanwhile, and this is how I knew it like, I'm glad now looking back on it, is like you kind of only see, the universe will present things to you when you're ready to see them.
100%.
And they had sent a company, and so we have usually 3 companies and a weapons company. Weapons is like your heavy guns, so your bigger mortars, your rockets, heavy machine guns, all of that. They're all in one company.
Yeah,
it's usually about 180 to 200 guys, depending on who's there.
Can I tell you something real quick? Because I just heard what you said. One of the most amazing things I was ever told on a date. I went on a date years ago, getting to know this young lady. Yeah. She said, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm an assistant editor and an assistant producer at a radio station. I go, what do you do? She was like, I make rockets. Oh. I was like,
that's where you just fade.
I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
I was like, are you
your next question should have been, for who?
I was so in awe. Like, you hearing that? I was like, by far.
She starts speaking Mandarin.
It is, man. No, she had me floored. Like, she was this, it's just Dominican girl from New York and New Jersey. And dude, when she told me I said, what? And then boom, she goes, yeah, here's my credentials. And then I see her NAS ID. I said,
oh, wow.
I feel like I'm a 2 intellectually compared to you. Like, what are you doing talking to me? So like when you said that, it just clicked. I was like, yeah, I remember that super sweet girl. Yeah. You know, we stayed in touch for a bit, and she got married years ago. But
they have to be calm, dude. They're working on rockets.
I was like, you make rockets?
Yeah.
I was like, that is freaking cool. Yeah. I was like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I have nothing compared to what you do.
Yeah.
No, all right. Continue. I feel like, check, please. No, trust me. I'm going to stop and save you. But no, keep going, man.
Yeah, no. And, you know, this is a long answer for that. But, like, I eventually made the transition into comedy while still in the military because it's just, I'm now, like, kind of, I'm going to therapy. I'm working on some of my childhood shit. Awesome. And what I'm doing is I'm returning to things that brought me joy as a kid.
Yeah.
So skateboarding, I'm drawing a lot more now. Nice. And again, making people laugh. I've always loved to do it. But now I want to take it more seriously, right? Yeah. So to me, I think the most wholesome way to get into comedy and like learn it is doing stand-up. Like sketch comics, they all got their start. Even some of the best actors have gotten their start in stand-up. It's something about the live performance. It's something about taking something that you've written, creating it, molding it, taking it up. If it works, it doesn't. But like, I love that first joke 50-50. I have no idea if this is going to work. I have an idea of how I should deliver this, but like puzzle.
If you make yourself laugh in the midst of writing it sometimes,
you
know it's golden. Like there are times I'm like, this is gonna be good.
And it's even better when you're on stage because then you remember, you're like, oh yeah, I still have to do this joke. You know, and then like you're laughing to get it out. Yeah.
You have no idea what's coming, guys.
And you really set the tone too for the show.
But to what you said, one of my favorite, I always wanted to go to Juilliard. I didn't audition.
Okay.
I was like, and that was one of my regrets because my dad was like, that's a hard field. I don't know if you're going to make it. I was like, wow, great job, Pop.
Yeah.
But one of the things I learned about like certain actors, and one of my favorite ones to hear about was Robin Williams.
Sure.
I was like, dude was roommate with Christopher Reeves. I'm like, that is awesome. First of all, like, those two guys of all people, like, I'm sorry, Mrs. Doubtfire, Aladdin, and Superman were roommates. Yeah. I'm like, there's a joke in there somewhere. But then he was like, I dipped. And the dude was doing stand-up and miming in Central Park before he went to California. I'm like, wait a minute. So Christopher Reeve is doing Shakespeare. Robin Williams can do Shakespeare too, but then he would go to Central Park.
Yeah.
And he's by, the fountain or the mall they call it. And he's doing mimes and he's doing stand-up there before he went to Cali. And I'm like, that is crazy. And that's why I'm like, dude, that's why the dude's a GOAT.
Before the pandemic started, I thought about doing this thing where I would drive Uber and tell people jokes and record it and then like make that like a I forget what the name I had for it.
So like a HBO Taxi Cab Confessions, but comedy version?
Yes. Right?
Okay.
And it failed horribly because most people were ordering Uber Eats, so I was just delivering food and then like giving them a really shitty one-liner.
Yeah.
it didn't work.
I guess for me too is I always liked like comedy with people. I knew exactly when I would be a good comic. I remember exactly the moment it happened. I was 15. I went to go to the movies with friends, and we got there early. And it was low 6 in Secaucus, anybody from New Jersey. So we're sitting there. I remember I was with my buddy Hutch, this young lady, Nicole, and I guess a few, like there's 5 of us. And we had like 25 minutes to kill because when we got there, it was like the movie starts at a certain time. We got a bench and we're just talking. We're sitting there. And at one point, I remember I just stood up because, when you're talking to the group, you just stand. I'm standing there. I'm talking to my friends.
Yeah.
And
impromptu set right there.
I'm there, and I didn't realize that more people were coming. I'm just talking to them, and like, we're there. I'm 15, and I'm just there going, and then it hit me, and then I look up, and I got a crowd of like 30 people standing.
Jesus,
with my, and I didn't. It just, because I was like, they were like, I'm like, right, my man, like, all right, cool, and I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And then
you went full Chappelle.
I did, for real. I was like, oh wow, and I was killing, and I was like, I didn't even realize I was doing a set. I was just telling stories and jokes. I'm imagine you doing this, talking about stuff in high school. I'm like, man, are you kidding me? I'm like, I'm 5'3", I'm still 15. I'm like, I'm not gonna get a prom date, man. Everybody still thinks I'm in 6th grade for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And like they were cracking up, and someone was like, I swear, man, he was like, yo, if my movie wasn't starting in 5 minutes, I'll probably stay out here and listen to you the rest of the night. And I was like, no, because I don't know if I can do this for an hour. But when I hit and I saw that, and I was like, holy smackers, to see that magnitude of people there.
Yeah.
That's when I knew I'm like, holy, I could do this.
Conversely, my first experience doing stand-up was the exact opposite. But
were you trying though? Because when I tried, that's different. Like my first time doing stand-up, I had 7 folks at that open mic. That's when I knew I'd be good at it though.
I think 8. I've talked about it on the podcast. So I would eventually get, adopted, essentially. A family had taken custody of me.
Okay.
That's who I refer to as my mom. My mom is that portion of my family. So my mom she literally was like, why don't we do like a little impromptu talent show?
Okay.
So me,
if you tell me she's black
brother,
or Puerto Rican, I'm going to lose it.
No.
That would be hysterical.
She was Asian. She did a little reverse. No, she wasn't Asian. But so my brother decided to do, I think he did dance choreography or something like that, which to me, or no, he did magic. It was magic. Okay. So he does a couple of magic tricks and I'm like, oh shit, tough act to follow. He's killing, right? And I go down there and have you ever seen
magicians, bro?
Yeah. Have you ever seen, There's Something About Mary?
Yeah.
Okay. So when he zips up.
Oh yeah. And he catches the, yeah.
I decided, that's what so that was supposed to be the punchline. And the correlation I had made to it was in school. And I was like, have you ever been in the classroom and then you zip your junk up and then I thought that just saying Franks and Beans would be funny enough to carry the joke, and I bomb in front of 4 people at the ripe age of 8, and I was like, oh, this just doesn't work sometimes, because I thought that joke, I'm laughing upstairs. I'm like, oh, this is gonna crush, dude. There's no way I'm losing.
So
God did.
So you pulled the Carlos Mencia and thought.
Yep, 100%. Well, I guess not entirely, right? Because like I had tried to warp it to where it was like something manageable within my world.
Yeah, Carlos Mencia.
Oh, so was he rewriting people's jokes? I thought he stole word for word.
I think he did both, man.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
What a terrible thing. But either way, yeah. So my experience, like I remember making people laugh. I'm sure I've had like scenarios like in classrooms where I've done that. Like had not necessarily a small gathering, but everybody would turn their head as I'm like trying to make something funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, my first time, I remember growing up, I would watch like Joe Coy's Comedy Central special, Nick Swartzen's. I didn't know who they were at the time.
Yeah.
It was just the bald Filipino dude.
Yeah.
And the white dude that talked about his gonads a lot.
Yeah.
And then, fast forward 20 years actually, realistically. 28. I made my like first.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, dude, that's when I first started, which is really cool because like now I have some perspective in life, I feel, which, and I don't know, as a young comic, you really don't kind of get that perspective when you start out so early, right? You kind of, because you don't really understand.
I mean,
observationalism.
I would say you can. It's just, is there unwritten rules? You could get it early. Like Chappelle started at 16.
Yeah.
Somebody's Eddie Murphy was 18 on SNL. So like age, I think it's material.
Perspective.
I think it's perspective, maturity. Like what do you got? What can you use that you're on your own, and then you take it and you go with it. So I'm like, if you're good, you're just good, and then just like take that and run with it. But that whole piece, like going back to what you said in the beginning, man, own your style.
Yeah.
Like just be like, all right,
personality first.
That's it, man. If that's who you are, do it. Like I remember at one point I tried to be like edgy. I was like, all right, maybe I could drop some F-bombs here. And I'm like, but that was never me. Yeah. I was like, that just feels so forced and ugly. I'm like, nah, I'll be the clean guy in between that's gonna work it out with a bunch of like, kid jokes in the sense, or I was like, throwing stuff about marriage, or like, like what's like being a school teacher. Like one of my favorite bits is like, I still use it because you don't see it coming. They're like, I'm like, how many parents we got? And people clap. I'm like, keep clapping. We got 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids. And then I'm like, why? Stop. I'm like, why do you have more than 4 kids? I'm like, sir, it's not a competition. We get it. It works. Pull out. Stop. I'm like, man, buy him an Xbox. Yeah. I'm sorry. You look like you work out. Stop going to the gym. Find a new hobby. Yeah. Like, people crack. I'm like,
but you're punching up. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but you take them to a lane, not offending them, you know. But I'm like, I'm the youngest of 4. So I always throw that joke in there. I'm like, no, I get having more than 1 kid. I'm like, why? I'm like, in case you lose one, you got 3 more. And they're like, oh, some laughing like, ooh. I'm like, hey, I can laugh at that because I'm the just in case kid.
Yeah.
And they're like, what?
Break in case of emergency.
I go, really? You think I'm not? I go, okay. I name my siblings in order on purpose. I go, my mom had 4. I go, I'm going to name all 4. You tell me which one's the just in case kid. Susan, Stephen, Stephanie, Charles. Who's the just in case kid? You're welcome. And I'm like, so don't think I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But I just go in because I'm like, especially Dead Crow, you got 4 minutes. I'm like, I don't know how to. Hey guys,
Amy's ears are bleeding right now because you're only supposed to have 3. No, I'm just kidding.
Is it? I thought it was 4. I swear it was 4.
Yeah.
I swear it was 4.
You're getting docked.
I see that light come on. I'm like, oh.
Now that you just admitted it, you have 2 next week.
Right? It's like, hey guys, I'm just here to say what's up and have a good night.
It reminds me of the Dave Chappelle special when he's making fun of it on the Chappelle show. He's like, HBO just gave me the special.
Oh yeah, 1 minute.
And it's 1 minute, and he's just.
I'm gonna talk about some controversial stuff. Y'all ready? And all right, good night. And it just walks off. Oh man.
Well, I wanted to ask you and I texted you, but I want to start this new bit for the podcast towards the end of the podcast.
Okay.
For everybody that doesn't know, my initial thought to this is I would like to bring on comics, and when I have them on, if they can remember or, bring anything that reminds them of a joke that they had originally written back in their early days. And what we'll do is we'll try to rewrite it to something that may or may not work. In the future, what I would like to do is, we'll hear the joke on the podcast. We rewrite it, and then if I can, depending on who it is and like the circumstances, if we could get like footage of them
doing it,
and then seeing if it works,
that'd be hysterical.
In time to put it on the episode, so like I can record it, and then by the time I'm done editing this, like we could put it. I'm not going to ask it. I'm putting you on the spot here, but but yeah, I'm still going to come up with a name for it. But it's a general idea. But please. Charles,
I remember. So I said too, the first one that it bombed was you had to be based in New York and New Jersey. It was a crosswalk joke.
Okay,
I was like, you know what I hate? I was like, when you're at a light and it turns green and the people are crossing, give you that fake run. They keep the same pace and their arms are just doing this.
Yeah,
I'm like, bro. That stuff kills me. I'm like, I just want to run you over. I was like, it happened to me last week. I was like, I saw this elderly woman walking by, and then she gave me the whole, and I was like, move it or lose it, grandma. And I was like, no, seriously, it was my grandmother. I was like, abuela, you need to move it. I got places to go. And it was just like,
Did it feel hacky when you?
Yeah, it did. It did, because I was like, I wanted to, like, how can I use this energy? And I was like, well, that one didn't. That one didn't go so well. I was like, great. And then I did one. That actually worked, and I was like, oh, I gotta keep this one. And it was a prop, but it was funny. I had an Afghan scarf.
Okay. Somebody
gave me, and literally on my way to the show, I pulled over to the gas station, and the guy was giving me the gas, and he goes, oh. He goes, no, you don't have to pay. I go, really? I was like, I'm getting free gas. He goes, yeah. He goes, you're a Muslim? And I go, oh, no. He goes, no.
Alaikum. Yeah.
He was like, oh, he was like, but you, I go, it's my brother. And my brother gave me a scarf. He goes, so your brother's a Muslim? And you're a Christian? I was like, yeah. And he goes, $25. I was like, fuck. I'm like, next time I'm gonna be like, Malaikum salam.
Yeah.
And then I'll walk away with 25. And everybody just like was crying, like, man, I didn't know. I didn't know to say I'm salam alaikum. I could have had free gas.
Yep.
So, and I remember it was like, I was like, how can I turn this? And I just did, like, it really happened, but it was just the way it happened. I was like, and I wore it. And I think I still have footage of it on my phone, like, telling that same joke. I don't have the first one with the grandma, but I have that one because it was on my birthday. That's how I remember.
Distinguishable.
It was on my birthday, and people just laughed, and I was like, yes, I'm out $25, so I didn't buy any drinks tonight. I was like, I'm only drinking water. If anybody wants to buy me a drink, we're good. But it was just, and then they're like, wow.
Salam alaikum.
But it's like real life stuff that happens to you that you can't make up. You're like, no, that did happen. I mean, you can make it up, but it's better when it
feels so much more better. So much better when it's original.
Oh, heck yeah, man. Like the little things there. Like what? Like you ever lie when you're on a date and you got to fart, but you're like, all right, what can I do?
I've actually never done that. I've never lied that I've always been very transparent. I was farting in front of my wife when we were dating. I was like, I didn't want to be one of those people
I guess this was like young, naive, silly Charles in his 20s. I was like, I either had to be, if we're out in public, I was like, all right, I got to make her laugh so I can laugh louder than her and let the fart out when I laugh. Like, so like, hopefully she didn't hear that and keep going. Yeah, you'll have fun playing with the audio there. Like, yo, that laugh was mad loud in the mic. But, doing stuff like that. Like, I was like, all right, how am I going to play this off? I'm like, we're somewhere quiet. I'm like, crap. I'm like, I just used the bathroom. I can't use it again. I'm like, all right, maybe, I don't know. What are we going to do? What are we going to use here?
Spill something on your hands. Like, let me go wash.
I'm like, I got to make something up. I was like, and I was like, and I had a cell phone. So it was after the whole like, beep, beep, all my pagers going off. Yeah. I'm like, no, my parents got me a pager. For what reason? Only people paging me were my parents. Yeah. It was just to be cool and hold it. I had no girlfriends paging me. You kidding me? But yeah, that's where it comes from. I think that's it. But those were the two. The grandma bit, because like people fake walking across the street, dead. And then
So if you were to bring that joke to 2022, how do you think you would attack that?
Oh,
Because it still happens.
oh heck yeah, oh heck yeah.
So it's really cool that you brought in a piece that like, no matter what, it's gonna last.
Oh,
As long as crosswalks exist.
there are still people crossing the street and they look up.
Yeah.
And they look at you. It's timing because I'm like, they look up and they look at you. I'm like, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you gonna just gingerly walk or are you
Yeah.
gonna give me the fake strut? I'm
Yeah.
like,
Conversely, the people that deliberately walk slow across a crosswalk.
yeah, I think there should be a law against that. I'm like, if there are laws, like we have laws for jaywalk, and I'm like, yeah, if you can't speed, if you can get a ticket for speeding,
Yep.
you should also get a ticket for walking slow
Slow.
on purpose on a crosswalk. There should be an officer that, hey, it's 5 miles per hour? You're walking at a 3.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Do you know how slow you were going?
Yeah.
I know. I do. All right, whatever, Grandpa.
It's a real hazard.
Yep, give me that. I'm like, why? I'm like, you're the reason people speed up, and then what? See that car? Yeah, crashed into that school bus full of children because he had to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm
oh my
immediately
gosh.
angered when they're not but that's the thing is like when you don't do that little bustle at the end, like I'm like, this motherfucker doesn't want it, you know?
Or at least give me the perception of it. Like,
just do that little like
you know, at least get
2 or
give
3
me 3 steps.
2 or 3
that
steps.
just tells me you're trying. You're like, all right, my bad, I'm trying.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in a cane or in a wheelchair, I'm just like, man, I can't do anything. I just have to eat it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
do you need help? I'll push you. No.
We're they're searching for the insurance claim. That's what it is.
Man.
I love those Malaysian videos. The ones that are in like China where like somebody will like walk up to their hood and then pretend that they got hit for the insurance claim.
Dude, I think that's crazy funny. I'm like, what the flip? I'm like, that's not gonna fly here. But just like, man, if you just don't roll off and just keep it moving. I'm like, especially if someone's having a nice car, they're like, bro, joke's on you. I ain't got insurance. This is stolen. Yeah.
So, I guess so. Observationally, what could we assimilate? Slow people, the deliberate crosswalk at the end. What could we make that like?
Well,
what would be what would be similar to that? What experience?
Oh, dude, it's got to be twofold. It's got to be an airport and it's got to be the grocery store.
At which portions? I noticed that I excessively use "excuse me" or "sorry" in a grocery environment. If I'm in somebody's way, no reason. I didn't do anything wrong, but oops, sorry. Excuse me. It's my go-to.
Because you want to be polite.
I'm trying to be polite. Yeah.
But I think at an airport, that doesn't happen because we're all trying to get to our gates.
Oh, yeah.
So excuse me, it doesn't. No.
People only time who have never ran in their lives run a 440 at the airport.
Dude.
Especially on those little fucking Sonic pads, Sonic the Hedgehog pads.
So that's where I'm like, that's where you should. Like,
be walking. Yeah, that's the.
But no. If you don't take up both sides.
Yep.
Like, I really feel like, you can get hit like a fullback if you're on both sides. I'm like, all right, if there's a couple, I'm hitting the dude, respecting the woman. Shouldn't have been there, pal. I got 5 minutes to get to a gate that's like 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
You know,
especially Raleigh when you land there from like I don't know if you've ever flown from Jacksonville, but like you go to OAJ, you go to Raleigh. Any other flight is on the opposite end of the airport, so we always fly to Raleigh and then have to like sprint to Terminal A or
ready? Quick story.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, Wilmington to Raleigh, Raleigh to Newark. The Wilmington flight got delayed.
Mm-hmm.
What was the malfunction? And I was like, you got to be flipping kidding me. The flight attendant's chair was stuck.
In the upright position?
They couldn't get it down. That was the biggest thing. I'm like,
hey,
here, here. I was like, here, not even that. I'm like, hey, if there's an extra seat in first class, just sit there and let us get.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna miss my connection. And I'm with another kid, student. He's like, I gotta make it to Florida, and I'm like, I gotta make it to Newark. So I'm like, we're looking as our other connecting flights. The amount of time I thought an hour was good, 50 minutes, 40 minutes, 30 minutes. Thankfully, we get on. I'm calculating it. I have literally 15 minutes when it lands to get to my next gate.
How packed was the plane?
Bro, I didn't pay for first class, right? I'm in the back row 22. Thankfully, and they should do this more flights. One of the flight attendants says, ladies and gentlemen, if you do not have a connecting flight, could you please let those who have a connecting flight get out for the holiday so they can make it? I said, thank you, God.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that for all freaking flights?
She felt bad because she couldn't sit.
So they fixed her chair, so she did sit. We get out. They let us, right? And we're there. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't have, all I had was my backpack. I did not have
Travel smart.
Yeah, I always travel. I'm smart with that. Big backpack. Boom. Literally, we're hauling it like gangbusters running, right? I pass him because we have to separate at one point. I think I'm at E. I'm on the opposite side.
Yep.
I stop. I'm there. I feel a tap. Come on, man. I'm like, all right, we go. I literally had to be Usain Bolt in it. Like I was doing it. We split up, fist bump. You make it. Hope you get to yours. All right, bet. We exchanged phone numbers so I could be like, hey, did you make it? Literally, I got to my gate with a minute left. Like they were
about to close. Yeah.
I was the last person that I got to the gate. And the woman's like, oh my God. She goes, don't worry. Get some water. She's like, you're good. You're good. I got water, like 3 cups. And I'm like,
yeah.
She's like, all right, I get there. I literally was the last person. They closed the door behind me. And the one flight attendant, so nice. She was like, oh my God, sir, sit in the front. I'm sitting in first class. She gives me a glass of water. I'm there. Thank you. She's there. Both seats were empty. Raleigh to Newark. The other flight attendant, I'm like, wow, I guess you're not going to have a happy Thanksgiving. I'm like, wow, I guess he broke up with you. Another woman's like, does he have a first class seat? Really, lady? I'm here panting. The other woman was just like, you're good. She's about to let me have a first class flight from Raleigh to Newark. She was like, you're good. Just like, hang out. I'm going to let you be. She's like, God, you got it. And I got this angry, and I can say it now, Karen looking flight attendant. It's like, does he have a first class ticket? Part of me wanted to be like, what kind of Thanksgiving? Are you not going to have a turkey or something? Are you upset? Who broke up with you, lady? Oh, man, I was so upset. She's like, sir, when you get your breath, she's like, stay there a little longer and then find your seat. And I was like, okay. And before the other woman could say anything, because I wrote it out for as long as I could. And she looked at me and she was about to be at Sarah. And I was like, I purposely looked at the other one. I said, excuse me, ma'am. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for letting me catch my breath. Okay. I went to my seat and I sat down. You can't be mean, but when you leave, have a safe, enjoy your thing. I purposely looked at only the one flight. I was like, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you. Just kept up. That was the only way, because I was like, I can't still be mean. I'm like, yo. I was like, I don't have it in me. I was like, what can I do?
It's the holidays. You don't want to be in that.
I'm just gonna ignore you.
Yeah.
My buddy made his flight to Florida, but literally it was the one time I felt like that Home Alone scene.
Yeah.
But I was hauling it. Like I was like running like I was on the track team with a book bag full of clothes. I was gone.
You were running with the chute.
If he didn't tap me to be like, hey, come on, man, get that second wind in, they would have closed it. And I'd have been looking like, what? I would have been stuck in Raleigh. Like,
they're good about replacing the flights, but I don't know about what was happening circumstantially around that.
But part of me, I was like, really? Because the chair, because you couldn't get the chair down. We're getting maintenance on it. We got to get a crew. I'm pretty sure I could have gone in with a screwdriver and be like, dude, oh, look at that.
Honestly,
fixed.
I'm known to wreck a couple of couches. Just let me sit on it. I'll snap that thing down. I don't know about getting it back up, but dude, you know,
it was so.
I'm a plopper. I like to plop. I plop when I sit.
As long as you don't flop, you're good.
Yeah, and then turn over.
That's it. No, that's sports nowadays.
Yeah.
Flops. Can't stand it.
Well, God, this was a fun episode.
Dude, I had a great time, man.
Thank you so much for coming out.
This is good stuff. Yeah, man, 100%.
Well, I got to get you back on. We'll already talk about the new stuff. I got an artist out of Georgia, Gus. He's
Oh, you had me nervous because there's a female singer by the name of Georgia. I was about to say, how the flip did you land that, dude? What?
He's making an intro song for me. We're trying to collab on some stuff. So
up, man.
I want, hopefully, the song's gonna be dope, and then like he'll have the rights to it and stuff. So
I will say this, man. Keep your composition and your disposition how you do, man. Like you're talking about, recognizing mine. And still me, sometimes I'm still trying to be authentic and recognize mine, man. But if there's one thing I do like, what I notice, I should say, is you come on stage and you're not shell shocked. You just come up calm, man.
yeah,
And a lot of comics don't always have that.
yeah,
I don't know how to come up. I'm calm inside, but
sure,
I'm
yeah.
my energy's different. But you come up and it's just like,
What's up, everybody?
it's like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys? You ready? This is like, all right, because you build anticipation. Like that's one thing I know. It's like I've seen you a few times and you build that early on, like those first few seconds.
Yep.
It's different. Like my first few seconds, I'm coming at you. Your first few is like, all right.
It actually really
ready?
hurts me in the bar scene.
Yeah, that
Oppositely, like it's really hard for me to do the bar shows because my pace. So I learned I have to be a little bit snappier on the bar shows, but I have to understand the difference.
Yeah. Well, what I would say this about bar shows is one thing I'll do with bar shows, I interact with the crowd real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can, someone, God forbid somebody's wearing a team, I'm like, you just gave me ammunition for days, apparel. I'm like, you're wearing a Russell Wilson jersey? I'm like, but it's a Seattle one. I'm like, are you hurt?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get it, man. I was like, if you want, hey, bro, we can hug and cry later. Are you with your lady? Does he cry on your shoulder?
Yeah.
Riff,
Sure.
stuff like that. Like, but I get it. Yeah, you
man.
can't, that pace, you have to, you have to adjust.
Thank you. I find it hard to get complimented sometimes.
But we all do, dude.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I still get like, Charles, you're great. I
Yeah.
still think I'm like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm not that good. They're like, dude, you killed.
That's where I'm at.
And I go home, I'm like, that was the worst. And I look at it, and I'm like, ugh,
I'll drive home and
turn that filth off.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. When did I see that?
Like what?
You
Why
know?
are they laughing? Wasn't that freaking funny?
I'm an idiot.
Ugh.
I'm an idiot.
No, what?
Self-talk.
Yeah.
It's 100% self-talk.
The weird stuff for me, I'll say this is when someone compliments me on on my looks, I'm like, dude, I was always the funny looking kid. Like
Sure.
I didn't grow in. So when they're like, he's a good looking guy, I'm like, who, bro? Because I'm wearing a cardigan? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
So I was like, no, I just don't like to look disheveled because my mom might find this funny.
I grew up looking like Harry Potter.
Dude,
So.
I was 5'3" until like my sophomore year in high school.
Oh.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
To be the shortest dude all the time. And girls like, oh my God, you're like a cute best friend or a cute little brother. I'm like,
Girls don't look through you; they look over you.
they did. I swear to you, they did until my junior year.
I'm so
Then I was
sorry.
just tall and skinny. I was like, all right, we gotta put these meat on these bones. Yeah. So when I hear that, I'm like, all right.
Sure.
Now I'm
Yeah,
like, all right,
yeah.
I'll take it now.
Yeah.
I'm like, just tell me I'm funny. That works a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, man, keep that up for yourself,
Thank
though,
you.
man. It's something I've seen, man. I think if you going on year 2 and you're already doing stuff like this, bro,
Yeah.
dude, I can't wait for like year 5 and you're looking back.
You're telling me, brother.
And you're like,
It's
holy cow, I remember when I was,
Yeah.
but like I've seen dudes and I've seen where they gone and some guys who are bigger,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, I remember when this guy.
You know
was
when you
there.
said earlier in the conversation when you said something along the lines of, you might not be a big now, but act like you are. And I'm not saying that in like in reference to look at the professionals, look how they're doing it.
Yeah.
Act similarly, right? I'm not saying like I want to be famous or anything like that. You know what I want? I want shows where I have an audience.
Yeah.
And I can perform. I don't care about being famous. I want to get good at stand-up comedy. I want to get good at comedy.
Yeah.
I want to become professional, and I just want to have fun. That's it. That's
Yeah.
and everything I'm trying to do is like, hopefully I'm like, all right, well, is this going to put me in the direction of where I want to? Is this putting me into the lane of comedy? Can I pull something out of this that I can with comedy?
Do you connect with your audience after shows?
I try to. Yeah.
What does that look like?
conversations, even if it's just speaking to them on like what kind of jobs they have or like whatever their occupation is, what brings them out that night.
Right.
Just trying to be more interpersonal between people.
But you get them to see your other stuff. Like, hey, listen, just follow me on here.
I do.
Okay.
Sometimes it feels gross.
Nah, man.
When I do that.
So I
have a problem with it because it feels cringy to me. It's like, oh, you like that.
But it's your craft. So
Sure.
it's like someone who's like, oh,
Sure.
you need a new fence. Hey, look at the work I've done. So if you have, for example, if you have a YouTube that's strictly for your podcast and it also has your bits, that's your work, man. So it's like, hey, what? Like, well, let me show you. Just follow. Here's more of my work. Yeah. It's not follow me. Like my Instagram is just sketches.
Sure.
Like it's not my family. It's, sketches that I've done and some stand-up bits. So like if I'm like, follow. It's that. It's nothing. You
use it as a resume almost.
Yeah. Okay. Like, hey, follow if you want a good
makes
laugh.
sense.
Do that there. Like
it's also very selfish of me to do that too, because it's like that's part of the business, right? Like that's an aspect of the business.
Because if
what's
they
the point
like
of
you,
doing this? If
they want to see more of you, right? They're like, oh man, I would love to see more of the stuff you got. Actually, yeah, I did this one bit and I was, ranting and raving about like food for like 30 minutes with Michael or blah blah blah, and then you got it there and like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. That's how I do it, and like I do sketches and it's just stuff that just funny things that come to mind. Sure. Goes in
premises that might not work on stage, but if you had somebody else there with you.
All my during the pandemic, I came up with 4 characters and I just did reoccurring sketches.
Yeah.
And it started.
That was your profile picture for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You had like the 4 different
4 guys. They're like, where did that come from? I was like, it was supposed to be me and 3 buddies, and then when I moved here, I was like, I don't have 3 buddies. And then I said, wait, I could do all 4. Yeah. And then I just did all 4. They eventually got names. Yeah. And then like the first one was like Kenny Rogers, because dudes in the hood don't know who Kenny Rogers is. Yeah. And that was my first sketch. And it was like a dude singing Kenny Rogers. And one guy's like, who's Kenny Rogers? He's like, oh, he's got the service stops. That's Roy Rogers. Oh, dude, hello. You got chicken. He's like, what? KFC. First of all, that's the Colonel. Same thing. He's like, no. Colonel starts with a C, not with a K, fool. It was like, oh, and he goes, Kenny Rogers is a country singer. And the other guys are like, oh my God, hey man, you okay? He's like, man, get off me. This ain't freaking a session. And it's like there. He's like, no. And then he spits the bar. No one to hold him, no one to fold him, no one to run. They're like, yo, Kenny Rogers got bars, son.
Yeah.
And it's just that whole bit. And I just went with that. And then people at work were like, dude, this makes my day, man. When you throw one out, I gotta watch. It's fun.
Those are the comments
I share it. And then
I
say share it. It's a good, because I realized me doing caricatures was easy because it's not me always, but it's something that's relatable. Like that's where the like Martin doing impressions of other characters. That's where I got it from. I'm like, I could do that too. So that's where it came from. I'm not putting on a dress, but I will portray other people and just throw it on in that context, man. But dude, this was fun for me, man.
This was super fun.
You,
thank you so much. Where can they find you at?
So, IG, Sir Charles Ozuna. I make it real simple so people can follow it.
It'll be right here.
And it'll be somewhere here. YouTube. You know what I hate about YouTube? Unless you have 1,000 followers, you still can't change that damn handle.
Yeah. You can.
Nah,
you
man.
Should be able to.
Nah, I'm still trying. So.
Oh, you're talking about the URL.
Yeah. I would love it to just simply be, but it's not. It's like Charles Anthony and then XYLD. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
The worst.
But I'll put everything in the description below here on YouTube, or if you're on Spotify. You guys know where to find me. I got a show January 5th. That will be this Thursday at Bull City Cider Works. You have any upcoming shows?
Word?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be which Bull City?
Wilmington.
Oh, damn you. I'm gonna be Thursday night. I'm gonna be in Raleigh, so I can go to the Durham or Cary one. I was gonna say, hell yeah, I'm there. Nope, sorry guys, I won't be able there to support them. I'll be there in spirit. So I'll be at the Improv on Friday.
All right, no need to flex. All right,
no. Well, I don't know how soon you push these out, man. So
Monday. It'll be Monday.
Oh, so then no. So then I got 3 shows, all in Wilmington. Dead Crow on Sunday, and Thalian is Family Feud with the Mayor on Saturday. And Friday is just Friday's a gospel fundraiser.
Sure.
But yeah, so those are 3 biggies.
And the one on Dead Crow, that's the brunch show.
The brunch, yes. The Brady Bunch. Yeah. So
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hope you liked the episode. Thank you again so much for coming on, Charles. This was a blast. Love you guys. Peace.